Hello and welcome back to Midwest Charge. Today we are going to visit 1079 Morton Boulevard, Hazard, Kentucky. I don't know if you watch a lot of News Coolum. He's like an OG in the charging space, super cool dude. But he's made a bunch of videos about this new EV charging provider known as Electric Era, or Electric Era, depending on your preferred pronunciation. But they have announced an expansion, and it appears that they have opened a charging station in conjunction with these guys in Kentucky. So let's go check it out. Alright, as you can see, we right now have a slated arrival of minus 28%, so we are going to need to find a charging stop. So let me do that real quick. It looks like we are going to target Lexington, Kentucky, because there are 20 stalls here. I believe it's 8 V2 and 12 V3 stalls from Tesla. And there is a Culver's in the parking lot, which sounds quite appealing. So let's make sure we can actually get there. Okay, I really have my heart set on this Culver's, so we are going to stop for about 3 minutes, if that, in Florence, Kentucky, and then continue on to Lexington. And from there, we will arrive at Hazard, Kentucky. Alright, our estimated arrival has climbed from 0 to 3% battery, so we are going to skip charging in Florence, Kentucky, and just go straight for Lexington. Timed things perfectly. We are about 5.5 miles, maybe just over 5 miles from the Supercharger. We are at 1% with a 0.0% arrival estimation. Alright, we are at 0%. We are about to go across the parking lot and plug in. But first, Culver's. We are on our way across the parking lot now at 0% battery. You really don't want to let the car sit at 0 for long. Like I said, this was just like maybe 10 minutes, which isn't too bad. The main drawback to doing what I just did is that the car will stop preconditioning somewhere. I believe it stops preconditioning once it believes that it will be arriving with less than 2%. Something like that, 1%. And so the car is not going to be heating up the battery a whole lot. And if it just sits for 10-15 minutes after it reaches 0, that's more time for the battery to cool off and for us to not quite get peak speeds. But I think we're going to get peak speeds because at 0% we got a lot of time for the battery to heat up and reach peak speeds. So. Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think we have quite enough energy to continue on our trip, but we have immediately shot up to 164 kilowatts, which I believe is as much as we can hope for at 0% battery, and it will continue to increase in power as the charge level comes off the floor. Just 1 minute later, maybe 2 minutes, and we are up to 6%, already hitting that 250 kilowatt peak. Not sure exactly how long we'll be holding it for, but good to see 250. We are now at 53%, about to cross over to 54, still doing 101 kilowatts, and as soon as we tick over to 54, we're going to unplug and roll out because we have an estimated arrival of 21% in Hazard, Kentucky, and our backup Supercharger is now showing 5% arrival. So let's get going. So I may have misjudged the distances and times involved in this. We are set to arrive at the Electric Era Charger around 9 p.m. So hopefully there'll still be enough sunlight out that we can check it out, but pretty optimistic we'll be able to see something. All right, it is exactly 9 p.m. and we have made it. We've got 21% battery, and right behind me here is the Electric Era FasCharge collaboration, FasCharge, FasCharge collaboration chargers. So let's go check it out. All right, looks like these Apple Market chargers, Apple Market is the location here. Currently these chargers are free during their test period, which is super cool. So these are 400 kilowatt DC max chargers. All I did was plug in and it immediately authorized. It's taken probably 25, maybe 30 seconds, and it looks like we are ramping up immediately. I can actually hear the fans going on one of the power converters over there. All right, it is at 22%, and we are doing 186 kilowatts, so that seems like a 500 amp maximum to me. So these are 400 kilowatts per port, interestingly. So 400 here and 400 up here, 500 amps maximum apiece, and oh, no way! They actually have CCS to NACS adapters built into the stations. Looks like it's on that side. And then if we go to the second charger, one more. All right, that's super cool. So 2 of these 4 stations you can still use with a NACS vehicle, even if you don't have the adapter. All right, welcome to the Apple Market, which is also a Shell gas station, which is also a Lee's Chicken. There is a car wash here, but it looks like it's closed permanently. And then right over here is our FasCharge Electric Era collaboration chargers. There is the Model 3 getting some juice. So you can see these are pretty cool. There's some good lighting here, right over all 4 stalls. We have a whole bunch of Eaton equipment, some rather large fuses and breakers, and here are the 2 power cabinets for these 2 chargers right here. So theoretically, this, between all 4 of these plugs, you could get 1.6 megawatts out of this setup. I'm sure in large part due to this grid buffer right here. Alright, so this is an extremely interesting setup. It looks like this is actually a giant battery pack, some kind of grid buffer with CATL LFP batteries in it with a maximum output of 232 kilowatts. Also, it looks like I just cannot see. Yes, because there is another CCS adapter. So you've got one up top, another up top on the other charger, and then this one is just not mounted to the unit yet, and that one is right underneath the handle. So there are actually 4 adapters for all 4 of these charging spaces, which is, again, super cool. We've got a VivoPay payment terminal. I have never seen one of those on a charger before. And let's see if we can get some good details off of this charger. I'll have to include photos because it's a little too dark for video. All right, these are SK Signet high-powered charger CCS cables. And, sorry, I gotta kind of wrestle this around here. Get it out of the blue lights. We have 500 amps, 1000 volts DC. All right, so normally I would take the approach of many stops, very short charges, and just go, go, go. But quite frankly, I am getting pretty tired, and I don't really feel like stopping over and over on my return trip. So we're just gonna let this charge up to, like, I don't know, 85, maybe 90%, and then just do one straight shot all the way back into Ohio. Okay, 30 minutes in, and we have gone from 20 to 80%, which is a pretty solid result considering there was no preconditioning, the battery was cold, and it had to heat up first and then begin cooling down later on in the session. We're going to be going to 90% charge here to give myself a roughly 6 or 7% buffer on the return trip. So we'll probably be here for another 10 or 15 minutes. On a normal road trip, you really wouldn't want to exceed 80% when you are fast charging, but in this case, I am just a little bit short of power at 80% battery, and I really just don't feel like stopping again, so we're going to take the, probably 5 or 8 minute net loss in time here and just do all the charging in one spot and then roll out. All right, I'm going to try something new. I have no idea how this dual lens recording works here, but we are at 90% battery, and we have a 7% buffer, so it is time for us to leave. So let's walk over here. We will select end session after 41 minutes. Let's see, no issues. Cool. Let's go ahead and unplug from the charger here. We've got it unplugged, so let's go ahead and put this cable back right there. We'll go ahead and read all of the fun details here. 54.8 kilowatt hours delivered, $0 energy cost because it's the first month, then they're going to introduce a cost. 188 kilowatt peak power, almost 42 minutes, 20 to 90%. All right, thank you for joining me on this adventure as we got to a supercharger at 0%. Went ahead and maxed out the charge curve of this car, and then checked out this fun electric era collaboration with FasCharge. I'll see you in the next one.